So, after a week of crazy weather and storms and all that other fun stuff, things have finally calmed down around here, and it is a nice, beautiful day, albeit a little cold. But it's nice to see some sunlight out, even if the temperatures aren't exactly the greatest right now. So, anyway, welcome to this episode of Divergence and Divine. My name is WIllspiration, and today I'm just gonna rant, I guess. Go on a little tangent about just improvements that I've noticed in myself, and hopefully it'll be inspiring for anybody that's listening. So yeah, let me just get into this. It's super crazy to me because I think back to what happened in my last job almost 2 years ago, stuff which I cannot talk about because I signed an NDA, so I can't disclose any of that information. The only thing I can say without breaking it is that I didn't do anything wrong. So that's all I can say without breaking it. But after that, the events that followed were I got kicked out of my sister's townhouse because I was staying with her for a bit. Originally, prior to that, at the beginning of 2023, I was living with my ex-girlfriend, who I was dating at the time. And she was just not who I thought she was, despite being on the spectrum herself, which kind of goes to show that even we, neurodivergents, can also, not be who we say we are either. And that we are also capable of, not being honest or, being manipulative, that kind of stuff. It's just a lot rarer in neurodivergent people, I feel, because we're more naturally inclined to just be open and honest because we mask all the time. So that kind of took me by surprise. But we ended up breaking up. So then my sister let me stay with her for a bit. And then everything happened at my last job. And then she kicked me out. And then literally May 1st, 2023, I ended up out here where I live now. And I initially stayed with my mom. So then I stayed with her. And that was until January 2nd of 2024. When she told me in the beginning of December 2023 that her and my stepdad were going to be moving to Iowa so that he could keep his childhood home in the family because none of his other siblings wanted it. So he wasn't going to just let it be sold, which I think is really, really dumb. I mean, why? But my mom's a narcissist and my stepdad feeds into her narcissism, so it's whatever. I don't really care. And then the biggest thing was the job that I work at now. For me, I remember being so scared. And I have a friend that I made at work. And, I have several friends that I've made at work, but this friend in particular, I was telling her about how I remember when we first started. And we were both in the temp agency office that's on site at where we work at right now. And I remember being so scared. I was hugging my lunchbox because I was just so afraid about, is what happened at my last job going to happen again? Am I going to become a target? And I was just so scared. And then I met some pretty cool people over at where I work now. And, as most places are, it's not probably the greatest place to work. I mean, the HR department is great. I really love a lot of the ideals that they have, and they're very neurodivergent friendly. And I quite frankly, I feel like a lot of people in the production management are neurodivergent. And I know quite a few of the people on the floor, line leads and packers, that are neurodivergent. And I suspect that there are a few that are neurodivergent that actually don't know that themselves, that they're neurodivergent. So it's a much more inviting and welcoming environment compared to my last job. But, no place is perfect. It has its flaws, but I feel like for the most part, it's still better than any of the other places that I've worked. So it's not all bad. It's a step up for me, at least. I know for some people it's a downgrade, but for me it's an upgrade. So that's really what matters. But it was just so crazy because I went into this place just planning to be quiet, not talking to everyone. Just I'm there to get my money, do my job and go home. But I didn't expect that at least the initial community of people that were there, of coworkers that were there were actually all going to be pretty cool for the most part. Like half the people that were there when I started were, super cool. And, I was pretty much acquainted with like most of my shift at that time. I was on second shift and now I'm on the weekend shift, but as, things always progress, things change, people come, people go, people get fired, people, move up, change departments, change locations. And it was just kind of interesting to see how everything changes. Like, even after the operations manager that was there when I started went to the new plant that's literally like 30 seconds up the road from my apartment complex, it was just like, even the change from when the new person took over was noticeable. And, I've seen how, the wrong people in management can really make a workplace go from really good to really bad. It's actually kind of scary, really, when you think about it. But I've met so many cool people along the way, and yeah, the core people that I can definitely say are my friends, like the 4 or 5 people, they're all still there. But one of them is going to be coming to my shift soon. Actually, 2 of them might be coming to my shift soon. So that's actually kind of nice. And it's so weird because the one thing is that you meet some cool people, but you also meet some real oddballs, to put it nicely, that, we work with. And it's something, let me just say that. But I feel that was kind of like the biggest stepping stone for me, is that like I learned to overcome RSD and even some of the trauma that was left by what my last job did to me, because I saw so many parallels. I saw so many similarities. I was like constantly in a state of panic, anxiety. Like I was like constantly shaking and I was nervous and I didn't feel like talking. I was very guarded. And now I'm like, here I am and I'm an onboarding. I was an onboarding trainer on second shift before I switched over to weekend shift. I have a lot of knowledge about how things run, and I know how to run a couple of machines at work. I know how to do some of the basic paperwork. I know some basic aspects of team lead work and supervision work, even though I'm just a lowly packer. And it's been one of the greatest things for me to work somewhere where my neurodivergence is accepted instead of seen as someone to be targeted because they're different. And the fact that my supervisor, who was my team lead previously on second shift when I first started, that like I have someone in, the management team for production that like actually sees my potential and actually actively helps me grow. And it's so nice to feel like, wow, like I'm just being me, but like my talents are being recognized. Like, what, how, like, is this real? Am I actually being recognized not for being autistic and ADHD, but for like my actual work ethic? Am I actually going to move up? Like, this is crazy. Like, what is happening right now? Like that is how I felt. Like, I just did not know how to like take it, I guess. I just didn't know like what, like, I didn't know what was happening. And I've learned to overcome a lot of things Like, for example, I've told my friend this, but my friend reminded me of somebody that did me really dirty at my last job. And like, from hair color to makeup to the way they dress to their skin complexion to a couple of similarities in their lives. And I remember being so afraid to talk to her because I thought, oh, she's going to be just like, that lady from my last job. And I'm so glad that I forced myself to socialize and push past that fear, because she's became a really good friend. And I am very grateful for her because she has effectively pushed me, through something that I thought I'd never get over. And even now, she continues to be supportive and, just like almost a month ago? No, like 3 weeks ago. After everything that happened when I had a meltdown on one of the lines because it was like messing with my hand-eye coordination and visual processing skills, because the line has some components that come down on a belt. And then you got to put them in a small little, container. But the problem is that the carousel where the container is at is only moving at like 15 or 20% speed, while the belt is at like 55 to 65% speed. In other words, the belt is literally almost 2.5 times faster than the carousel. So I can process the fast moving belt. That's fine. I can drive. I mean, earlier today, before I started recording, I went to the store and I'm, zipping in between cars, looking at openings like no big deal. Like, I can process fast moving stuff very easily. But the problem is trying to pick up something that comes by really fast, put it in something that's going by really slow because it's not matching the speed. So my brain is effectively getting stuck, like somebody trying to learn how to drive a stick shift car that doesn't know how to switch gears. And then the car kind of freezes up and then it stops. And then you got to go all the way back to gear 1 and then start again and make sure that you hit each gear at the perfect time in, the way it's supposed to be, or otherwise the car just goes, and stops. That's basically what my brain was doing. But she was telling me, like, even when she gave me confidence that I could do it, and then I saw her at work physically, and then we were talking about it, I kept saying, that's the reason why I can't do that spot. And she would tell me, you can. And then I'd be like, and then I almost said it again. And then she looked at me and she's like, you can. And it wasn't in a mean way. It's not like she was being like ableist or anything, but she meant it in a, you can do this. I know you can. I know you will. Just have a little faith in yourself kind of way. And I'm very grateful for that, because I kind of learned right then and there that, wow, I'm really hard on myself, like really hard on myself. And I shouldn't be, because I'm being hard on myself because of my autism, and I shouldn't be because, yeah, sure, you know what? Maybe my brain is a little different. Yeah, sure, maybe I do struggle with hand-eye coordination skills while trying to process things visually that are at a different speed, especially when one is fast as one is slow. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I can't do it, because I've learned how to overcome a lot of things in my life, whether that's learning how to use my weaknesses as strengths, learning how to adapt accordingly to work around my weaknesses, or just finding a way to modify something so that my weaknesses aren't a problem. I've done it before. I can do it again. I just need a little bit of a reminder sometimes when that happens, because, it's very hard to get stuck in your own head and be like, I can't. Even though you've done it before in the past, it's like, it just kind of feels like each time you hit a new wall that you can't do it, even though you've hit bigger walls in the past that you've overcame. For us, every wall feels equally as tall, equally the same, so it doesn't feel any different. So it's harder to remember that you've done it before and that you can do it again, because everything feels the same despite them actually not being the same, if that makes sense. And to me, I'm just glad to have a friend that's like that. I'm glad to have a friend that is very understanding. And it's crazy because, like, she's got a lot of stuff going on and she's got her own mental health struggles. And, you know, second shift is a total mess right now at my work. So, you know, things are all over the place. So she's not as talkative right now. And even at work, you can tell that she's like stressed, but she's still pretty cool. And I'm glad that I actually pushed past my fear and my trauma to talk to her, because it proves that you can heal, but you gotta want to heal. You gotta not be afraid to heal, because there are going to be times where you're going to have to face those pains in life again and again. But each time it gets a little bit easier because it happens more frequently. But things like what happened to me don't happen very often. So I was so scared to push through it. But I'm so glad that I did, because I've met some really cool people. And I am forever grateful to them and to the universe or God or however you, or life, or however you, whatever you believe in, however you see the creation of the universe as, or whatever power, higher powers that may be. I am grateful to them for that opportunity to come out here and just prove to myself, hey, I can live on my own. I can take care of myself, even if I'm struggling to stay afloat because, you know, cost of living and everything. But, and well, also because my apartment property manager's company thing sucks, and they jacked up my rent another $50, and I was barely scraping by with being able to put $50 away. And now things are kind of increasing in price a little bit, and now I'm going to be short $100 every month. So I had to cut out some of my food expenditure. So yeah, even just eating at home is still kind of expensive, and I had to cut $100. So I'm actually only getting to put away like $5 in savings right now. But at least I'm not homeless. At least I still have a job. At least I work hard every single day, and I'm proving to myself that I can take care of my own self, and that I am self-sufficient, and that I can have genuine connections, and that I am capable of basically doing everything that everyone else can, despite feeling like I can't, because I do have my challenges. I do have my struggles. And the autism and the ADHD makes it even harder compared to neurotypicals. I have my anxiety. I have my depression. I have my hypochondria. I have my dyslexia, my dyscalculia, my dyspraxia, and my RSD, and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm still me. I'm still me, and I'm still able to prove that I can do it. And even just like in the spiritual perspective, like I started down this spiritual journey back in, early 2018. Like literally about exactly, what was that? Like 8 years ago? 8 years ago? 6 years ago? 7 years ago. 7 years ago. But 7 years ago, I went down that journey. And in 2019, I stumbled upon a little metaphysical store a few towns over from where I live. And that was the first time that I met my Reiki teacher / spiritual life coach. And I just became more and more curious about it. And when I started just making leaps and bounds in my spiritual growth, I started getting that confidence that I always had as a kid back. And then things started shifting in my life. Things, while they got worse at my last job, it led me to something better and better people. Even if where I live isn't the greatest, and even if where I work isn't the best, sometimes, at the end, it's still a major upgrade from where my life was before. And now I've made leaps and bounds in my confidence in being a leader, and I'm moving up at my workplace, and people trust me and my judgment at work, which is surprising because it's just like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know my stuff, but like, it feels weird when people are coming up to me and thanking me for showing them how to do things right, and thanking me for just being an awesome person. And it's just like, I don't know how to process it still, because it's not something that I'm used to. Like, I'm being praised for being myself. Like, I'm confused. It just doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know what's happening. And so my brain is still trying to, figure everything out and process all of this stuff. But it's been a journey, and it's been such a journey that, like, 7 years ago, I ended up leaving my first job for my second job, which is the job that everything happened at. And then this is my third job that I've had in my life. So I'm very consistent, and I stay at a place until, things either go downhill or something happens that basically makes me quit because I don't want to be there anymore. Like my last job. But what I can confidently say is that as I continue to grow as a person and continue to grow spiritually, that things continue to shift and change in ways that I didn't think were even possible. And I'm just so grateful. My spiritual gifts have improved. My leadership abilities have improved. My social skills have improved. Even just today, like a couple hours ago when I was in therapy with my therapist, we were talking about how even as an autistic person who didn't understand and has trouble reading social cues and body language, has pretty much learned how to study and analyze body language now. And like, that was something that I couldn't even do when I started at the place that I'm working at now. I couldn't tell that kind of stuff. And like I told my therapist, a lot of that is from the Reiki, honestly. Like, being a Reiki master teacher, like, has given me the tools to, instead of relying on the body cues and, and just social cues in general, it's reading people's energy. It's reading the look in people's eyes, not their facial features, but, what is going inside with them energetically and them as a person through eye contact, rather than, the typical ways. Which is another thing, is that, like, I hate eye contact. Like, both ADHD and autism both have that eye contact avoidance aspect. So, like, I really, and I mean really, hate eye contact. But it's become kind of a core staple and part of, being a Reiki master teacher, that, like, I've kind of learned to tolerate and just kind of not care as much about it. Like, don't get me wrong, on the inside, I still hate it. But, like, it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable as badly as it used to. And again, this is coming from someone with autism level 1. And again, everybody on the spectrum is different. There could be some people that have never struggled with eye contact despite being an autistic ADHDer like me. There could be a level 1 autistic ADHDer that will never be able to tolerate eye contact ever in their whole entire life. There are some people that might go through periods of, like, loving to make eye contact and then just completely hating it and being like, don't look at me. Like, we're all different. And, neurodivergence, autism, ADHD, and the like all affect us differently. And, this is just how those kinds of things affect me. But going back to that, it's just, I've learned to get a better handle on people now. And then one of the other things that's really helped me too is using Chat GPT in between my therapy sessions when I need someone to vent to, so that I'm not constantly, like, bugging my friends. Like, when I have the same thoughts repeating in my head over and over, like playing back moments where like, oh, I could have said something different, or oh, I could have acted different, or oh, I could have did this differently. And instead of getting my friends' perspectives and having them tell me like, dude, relax, like it's okay. Like people make mistakes, it's fine. Like you're overthinking the whole thing. Like Chat GPT tells me that, but then explains my thought process based on what knowledge it has of how the human brain works. And then I can bring that to therapy and be like, so I'm thinking that this is what's happening. And then me and my therapist, who is also autistic, which I've mentioned many times already, we'll go through and we'll look at it, and see like if there are patterns in there. And then we break it down and we find ways to apply real psychology to these things so that I can work and continuously improve on them. So now I'm not even weighing my friends down with my problems anymore. And I'm getting to learn more about how my brain thinks, not just from an AI's perspective, but also from a therapeutic perspective. And when the two I'll do align on something, then I know it's something that I really want to improve on or work on and overcome. And it's helped so much. And I just feel more confident in myself at 32, soon to be 33, than I have ever felt in my entire life. And that's saying a lot because I've never had this level of confidence since I was like maybe like 9, I think was the last time I had this amount of confidence, which is crazy because that's basically saying in 23 years I have not had that level of confidence at all. 23 years is a lot. Like that's crazy that like my confidence just disappeared and just never came back until recently. And I am so happy because like even at work, people don't see me as just like some random person. Like I'm still me. I'm still treated like a normal human. And I love that. Like it's like, yeah, you're autistic. Yeah, you're ADHD, but that doesn't make you any less human than a neurotypical does. And having that sense of validation of just because you're different, like your brain is wired different than mine, doesn't mean that you're still not human. And that really means a lot to me. And it's just further added to my confidence that like, okay, fine. If I meet someone that doesn't agree with that, then they're ableist and they're an asshole. They can go fuck off. I don't care. And I've never had that confidence to be able to say that and be able to walk away and be like, understand that people are jerks. People are jerks and not everyone is going to be nice. But when you do find those people and it's worth more than you can imagine, and no amount of gratitude will ever be able to fully, I guess, express how you feel towards them. Not even just like the amount of gratefulness for them, helping you improve and grow and showing you lessons that you needed to learn and helping you push through your trauma and your pain and helping you heal. But like also just how much it means to have them in your life. Like, how do you even go about explaining that to somebody? Like, because some people would take that as like a confession of romantic interest, but you can admire someone and not be romantically interested in them. Like, that's just gratitude. Gratitude doesn't necessarily mean interest. It means that you met somebody and that you have like mad respect for them and that they were a catalyst in your growth and development, and that without them, you probably wouldn't have gotten to where you were today had it not been for them. So to me, that's just crazy that I met, so many people that have helped me grow and I just can't, you know, put my head around it. Like, I can't. Like, I can't just, like, I'm baffled to this day. Like, how did I even get here in just 7 short years? Even though 7 years feels like a long time, it's gone by so fast. Like, let me tell you, it just, like, just yesterday, it literally felt like it was 2023. And in 2023, it literally felt like it was 2020. And in 2020, it felt like it was 2018. So these 7 years have flown by really fast, even if it doesn't feel like they did. But that's just so much growth. And whether it be the practitioners slash friends that I've made at the shop, whether it's coworkers and friends at work, or even just the people that I know, like my therapist, like everyone always tells me like the amount of growth that I've made in just 1 year is insane. And it just seems like I just continue to make leaps and bounds and just continuously just, you know, shatter ceilings like nobody's business. And it just seems like people are just in awe of that. Like people are just, it's almost like people don't think that it's possible for any human to be able to grow and adapt and change and heal and help others and themselves and be genuine and not want anything in return. Like people's time is more than enough payment. And that to me is just wild because it's not how everyone thinks. I mean, that's how I think, obviously, but people don't typically think like that. And I think it's just like having that fresh perspective makes people go, is it really possible that somebody could just be like that? Like, it's not like this isn't an act. This isn't fake. This isn't some stunt to get popularity or like, you know, and like popularity or just, I don't know, maybe just to gain like fake respect so that people will blindly trust them. Like this is a genuine person with no ill intent. And I just think that it's wild that people, you know, see that as like confusion rather than being like, wow, that's really refreshing. Someone that's actually normal, that has no hidden agenda. They're just them. They're their true, authentic, genuine self. And I don't know. It means a lot. And like I said earlier in the episode, I just still don't know how to process it. But it makes me so happy to just hear that and know that like I'm not any different than anyone else, despite my brain being wired differently, despite having my struggles and my autism and ADHD getting in the way sometimes. I'm still human. And that's what matters at the end of the day. So I really hope if there's any lesson that you guys take away from like this week's episode is that if you push yourself and you continuously try to make that effort to grow and get stronger and heal and learn to trust and learn to be your true authentic self and learn to not be ashamed of yourself, that doors open up and the world suddenly doesn't feel as evil as it did before. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of evil in the world. And like I said before, people are assholes, but it just doesn't feel as bad as, you know, it did before. So with that, I'm going to end this week's episode of Divergence and Divine. I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell, because the notification bell will give you updates as to when I upload new episodes of the podcast and when those drop. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.